The best thing that ever happened to me, I guess, is going to sound crazy, was my parents' divorce. If I still lived I come from a very small town. I lived in a place called Goshen in Indiana. And I always laugh because I did sales jobs in the past. If I still lived in Goshen, I'd be a redneck with a cowboy hat selling Hummers or something off the Hummer lot. I don't know where I'd be. Maybe in jail, maybe worse. But the fact that my parents got divorced, my father had lost his career in the military a few years prior. So my mother on her own couldn't afford health insurance for any of her kids. So the logical solution as a British citizen was to move back to England. And my grandmother, my mother's mother was quite the racist. So she didn't want us staying with her. So we lived in a homeless shelter for a while, 2 years. I used to have to go to school, lie to the kids about where I lived. I'd stay at their house and they'd say, I'll stay at your house next week. And my mom would have to talk to their mom. So I'm very much in touch with what it feels like to be broke. From there into a council house. Me and Andrew were raised on a council estate. My mom was good though. Made sure we had 3 steady meals a day. Our clothes were clean. You know, she made sure we did our homework. We always did well in school. And out of there, we left sixth form college really without enough money to go to university. I wasn't inclined to take loans out. My mom was still washing dishes in the school kitchen. I wasn't going to get 20 or 30,000 pounds of loans out to, I guess at the time it felt selfishly study something that I was interested in, whether it be physics or biology. So instead, I just entered the workforce and hustler's mentality, worked one thing after the other. We ended up working for ourselves at a very young age. I lost that money, lost that business. I was sleeping on my best friend's couch at 23. Okay. And here I am, 31 now. I'm net worth, I don't know, 2 and a bit. Yeah. At least for myself, which is not bad, you know, considering my life story. But my life's been very interesting. Mine and my brother's big break is when we started working in, I guess, let's call it adult entertainment. Okay. Well, not personally, but we would set up live broadcast studios where models would talk to dudes on the internet, you know, strip, you know, flirt with them, talk to them, listen to their problems. It's essentially like a strip club, but with a webcam and a model there instead of a pole in the middle and a bunch of dudes sitting around the outside. Okay. But it's much more lucrative because in the typical, I guess, burlesque club or lap dance club, a girl can only have 8 dudes surrounding her at once. Some of my models will have 900, 1,000, 1,500 men at any one time, all throwing money in the pot. So my brother discovered this actually when he was dating a girl who was kind of doing this on the side. And one of the most telling points of mine and Andrew's life is at the time he was just fighting. He was training, fighting, bringing in some money that way. I got paid almost peanuts for my fights because I was a much lower level, but I was working. I was working as a salesperson for a company that sold conservatory roof insulation. Okay. Nonsense job. I was bringing home at the time. Yeah, it was in the UK. Okay. It's in the UK. The company was based in Milton Keynes. Okay. And I was making between 1,000 and 1,500 British pounds every week. Okay. I was the company's top salesman. I was working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And one of the most telling points in my life, in mine and Andrew's, I guess, origin story, is Andrew turned around to me one day when I got home and he said, you know, bro, I'm just going to start selling for insulated conservatories. I'm going to get your job. We'll combine our money. We'll be on 3,000 pounds a week. It's not bad. I looked at him in the eye. I said, Andrew, you can't do that. You can't accept that job. You can't come work for my company because once you do, then that's who we're going to be. You've got to think of something better. You do your training, you do your fighting, you're exhausted all day. Take the time, spend the day thinking, researching, and find something better. I'm going to go and make the money. I'm going to make sure that our heads stay above water. And that's one of the most important decisions we ever made. Wow. One of the most important decisions we ever made. Andrew started his first, from the flat we were in, he started running his first 1 or 2 webcam models. We ended up having 75 members of staff at my largest. Wow. That's scaled down now because I'm doing some other things, much cleaner, nicer things, opening gambling casinos, that kind of stuff. Still, I guess, playing on vices, but that was our big break. And if I had let Andrew come to work at my company, we wouldn't be here today. Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I had a Range Rover at the time on finance. I was doing okay for a guy. I was 24 and a half at the time, you know, bringing home 60, 65 a year. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't this. I got you. So I'm very grateful that I told Andrew to stay home and do his research. Yeah, man. And I guess his research was meeting up with hot because he heard about it from some woman on the side, and I think the conversation he had with her was, "Oh, so you work at home?" And she goes, "No, I work at a studio." He said, why would you work at a studio? She goes, oh, I've got my kid at home and, my parents are at home and the studio's got the best equipment and the best setup. And it just, a light bulb went off and Andrew said, I came home from work one day. He said, Tristan, something amazing's happened. I said, what's happened? He goes, I've made 360 pounds. I said, no, you haven't. I've made 200 pounds today. I made one sale. You haven't made 360 pounds. He shows me it on the screen.
Yeah.
I was like, well, and they just send that to your bank? He goes, yeah, they send it to the bank. And that was the eureka moment. I quit my job a week later.
Tell us a little bit more about your fight career, because we haven't touched on that at all.
Tristan the Talisman Tate. Now, I'm happy to admit, I'm a self-made man in my own right. But in kickboxing, we were known as the Tate brothers worldwide because of Andrew. Andrew was a better kickboxer than me. You can see my nose leans slightly to this side. I've suffered 3 breaks, broken ribs, broken hands, broken toes. Andrew's fight style, which I did try to learn, I really did my best, was very much, don't get hit and knock him out with your insane power. My fight style was get hit 3 times, hit him 4 times.
Okay.
So a lot of the fights you'll watch me in, there still are some in YouTube. Feel free to look them up. Just type my first and last name. You'll find some are just horrible fights. I was in bed for 3 days afterwards, win or lose. I took a lot of beating and a lot of punishment, but I did win the majority of my fights. I had won the European title, the ISKA European title, and I was training for a defense of that title when a taxi here in Romania crashed off of a cliff and damaged my shoulder. So that's me done. I had a cut up face and cut up hands. The scars are still visible on my knuckles, and my left shoulder was just ripped out of place. Wow. Now that I do have some money, when I was in Dubai last month, I went to see the physiotherapist who looks after Roger Federer, the best guy in the business, like $600 an hour to see him. And he just told me, he said, how did you do this? I said, well, car crash. He said, well, now essentially his words were, my muscle, my frame, my size is what's holding my shoulder in place, because my shoulder isn't holding my shoulder in place. So that's just the way it is. But it's okay. I'm a very able-bodied guy, all sorts of push-ups. I train all the time. I just couldn't afford to fight professionally, because if I missed a left hook with full intent and my arm came out, I'd be, I'd lose the fight instantly. And I'm not going to give anyone that glory of beating me because of some nonsense. So I just train. I keep myself fit. I can still fight, but the fight training is too much, bro. Your fight career teaches how fragile people are, how people who aren't particularly big might know something that you don't. It keeps you out of trouble. I've used violence 3 times in my adult life. 3. Coming from Luton, where everyone was having street fights all the time. And Luton people typically left me alone. But, I just don't mess with people, and I don't let people mess with me. But I just completely stay out of conflict. If someone not in Romania, because in Romania, I've got in Romania, no one messes with me anyway. But if I'm on vacation somewhere in Spain and some guys are getting mouthy, I'll smile, I'll take a sip of my drink, I'll turn and leave the bar. I don't care, And I think that's something that comes from fighting, because I don't have anything to prove. That guy doesn't have title belts hanging on his wall. I do. I've got the battle scars. I've got the broken nose. Could I beat him up? Sure. And then 3 years in a Spanish jail for what?
Yeah. It's
for
funny.
A night that no one's ever going to remember.